You're walking, but you can see the ground. You can see the sky. Everything is just this thick, choking gray twilight. The air tastes like sulfur. It's a deep, bone-aching cold. And somewhere in the distance, you can hear the sound of the world quietly suffocating. Welcome to the year 74,000 BC. If you were alive right now, you wouldn't know that a mountain in Sumatra had just exploded. You wouldn't know that the Toba supervolcano event was the largest explosive volcanic event on Earth in the last 25 million years. All you would know is that the sun has been blotted out for years. The global temperature has plummeted. The forests are dying. And you, along with every other human being on the planet, are just trying to survive the longest, darkest winter in the history of our species. Now, look around you. Look at the 8 billion people currently walking around on this planet. It is incredibly easy to assume that we are inevitable, that humanity is this unstoppable, sprawling force of nature. But that is a lie. The honest truth is that you are here because of a statistical anomaly. You are here because roughly 74,000 years ago, our species was pushed to the absolute razor-thin edge of extinction and we almost fell off. To understand what happened, we have to look directly at our own DNA. If you take any two chimpanzees from the same troop in the same forest, they will have significantly more genetic difference between them than any two humans from opposite ends of the planet. Think about that for a second. A single troop of chimps is more genetically diverse than the entire human species. Why? The answer is the genetic bottleneck. When geneticists run the math on the human genome, they hit a massive wall at roughly 74,000 years ago. The effective human population size crashed to somewhere between 1,000 and 10,000 breeding pairs. 10,000 pairs. The entire human species could have fit into a single modern sports stadium. If just one more disease had swept through or one more winter had been a degree colder, we would be gone. There would be no Rome, no pyramids, no moon landing. So what actually caused this? The issue wasn't just lava or ash, it was the volcanic winter. The Toba eruption injected roughly 100 million tons of sulfur dioxide into the stratosphere, triggering a severe, prolonged global cooling event. For a species living on the margins, a global temperature drop of 3 to 5 degrees is an absolute death sentence. The entire ecological pyramid collapses. The humans who survived weren't the ones who were physically the strongest. They were the ones who were the most socially cohesive. This is the pivot. This is where the physical catastrophe becomes a cognitive catalyst. When the environment turns against you, the individual dies. The only way a soft, slow, clawless primate survives a global volcanic winter is by relying entirely on the group. The groups that survived were the ones that could share food, care for their sick, and most importantly, communicate. Shortly after the bottleneck, we see what archaeologists call behavioral modernity. Complex tools, art, long-distance trade, language, which had been developing for hundreds of thousands of years, suddenly became the single most critical survival tool we had. The ability to coordinate was no longer a neat party trick. It was the difference between surviving the winter or freezing in the dark. Now, let's address the skeptic in the room. If we all came from such a small group, what about human diversity? Doesn't that prove we were always a large, diverse population? The honest answer is no. The reality is far more fascinating. Remember the marble jar analogy. The bottleneck reduced us to a handful of marbles. But once the climate stabilized, that handful started reproducing. As those small populations migrated out of Africa, they encountered entirely new environments. They moved into high UV environments where dark skin was selected for. They moved into low UV environments where light skin was selected for. This diversification didn't happen before the bottleneck. It happened after. All of the vast, beautiful physical diversity of modern humanity was generated in the last 70,000 from the genetic raw material that survived the Toba winter. We are not an ancient, deeply divergent family tree. We are a very young, very tightly pruned bush. Every single human being on Earth right now is a descendant of those few thousand survivors. Why call the Toba eruption a mistake? because from the perspective of the planet, it was just geology. But from the perspective of human evolution, the bottleneck was a catastrophic error in our continuity. It wiped out nearly all of our ancestral genetic variation. It allowed Homo sapiens to expand so rapidly that we outcompeted almost all other hominid lineages. We survived by becoming the ultimate generalists, and in doing so, we became a biological monoculture. In agriculture, a monoculture is highly efficient, but incredibly vulnerable. If a new disease targets that specific crop, the entire system collapses. Humanity is the ultimate biological monoculture. We are incredibly adaptable in the short term, but genetically, we are running on a very narrow code. We survive by the skin of our teeth, and we are still living with the genetic consequences. But here is the paradox. That narrow genetic code contained the exact cognitive architecture required to build the world we live in today. Bottleneck didn't just prune our DNA, it forged our minds. The intense social pressure forced us to become hyper-empathetic, hyper-communicative, and hyper-cooperative. The very traits that allowed those few thousand people to keep each other alive in the ash-choked dark are the exact same traits that allow 8 billion people to build global civilizations. We are not here because we were the strongest. We are here because when the world literally ended, we held on to each other. We spend so much of our lives worrying about the future. It is easy to feel small. But look at your hands. Look at the people around you. You are the descendant of the ultimate survivors. 74,000 years ago, when the sky turned black and the earth froze, they didn't give up. They shared their food. They told stories. They adapted. Every single breath you take is a direct result of their refusal to fade quietly into the ash. The universe is vast, and it is largely indifferent to our existence. But we are here anyway. We are the universe's most stubborn accident. So the next time you feel overwhelmed by the scale of the world, I want you to remember the year 74,000 BC. I want you to remember the ash and the cold and the dark. And I want you to remember that you are the living, breathing proof that the light won.